Hi, this is Pete Dowsett for Gobbler. Today we're going to be going over the Antares Mic Mod EFX. Antares, as you are probably already aware, are well known for their auto-tune software, but this microphone modeling system was first released in the year 2000, so it's an established player, but recently it's gone through a bit of a resurgence because of other microphone modeling systems coming into the marketplace. In 2010, it went through a major update where they added loads of new microphones and changed the GUI as well. So in total, there's 125 microphones available in this collection. Lots of other microphone modeling systems use specific hardware that you need to use to make it operate correctly. The Mic Mod doesn't require anything. It can work with any source material. Now, having said that, it's best if you own one of the 125 mics in the collection, because that will make how it transforms the signal into the modeled mic more accurate. But you can still make it work and get some really great, interesting results without that. So what we're going to do today is run you through the controls and also give you one or two audio examples to show exactly what this thing can do. I'm going to add this to a snare top channel, which I've commented down was a Shure Beta 57. Now, I know that this is on the list available. First off, let's load it in as an insert in Pro Tools, and I first thought that I might find it in the harmonic drop-down section, but it's actually in other. So let's go and load Mic Mod. How this works is the first thing is that we need to select our source mic, which is the mic that we used to record. And in this case, as we've just found out, I used a Beta 57. What this will do now is tell the system that that's what was used to record, and it will, to a certain degree, know the tonal shape that that microphone will have. Obviously, every single microphone, even of the same type, will have its slight little nuances, but overall, there's a predictable pattern that they can model. The next thing we need to do is tell the system, what do I want to change it to? Again, we've got 125 mics to choose from, and I'm going to just, for this example, pick something that's going to be a significant contrast, just to show you how much it's coloring the signal and transforming it into a mic of a different type. What I'm going to do is go down to Coles and change it to a 4038. Now, this is a classic ribbon mic, and it will be significantly darker than the SM57 Beta, and it will have significantly less punch in the upper mids, but it will also have a kind of rich, dark, harmonic content to it. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it first with the plugin engaged, and then bypass it and unbypass it a couple of times so you can hear what it's doing. What you probably noticed there, that it did get significantly darker, but one thing that I often like to do is volume match before and after, because otherwise it's very hard to make an objective decision about how the sound is and whether it's better or not. So in this case, when we engaged the plugin, we could see that actually the snare top was peaking. So what I'm going to do is bring the output down a few decibels, turn it on and off, and try and get it roughly level matched to my ears. Okay, so that feels a little bit better to me. What we can hear is it does get significantly darker, which is what I was expecting to hear. I'm also interested in some of the other controls here, because it's got a really handy tube saturation circuit in it as well, which will help to kind of crisp up and harmonically rich the sound. So one of the things here is, and particularly for people like bedroom producers that might not have a whole heap of hardware to be using along with their preamps, it can help really get a little bit further to what you would get in a professional studio, where you could drive the preamp a lot harder and back off the gain going into your recording device. What I'm going to do here is now turn up this tube saturation so you can hear what that's doing. Okay, so what you could hear there is it was really fattening up the sound and also adding a little bit more of a grittiness in the upper mid-range. Now, this is to be expected of tube saturation, but what you probably noticed is that when I turned the tube saturation up, again, my output volume went up. So I'm going to match that out one more time. Okay, so what you can hear there is that it's significantly darker and we've enriched the sound and made it more harmonically dense with the tube saturation circuit. One other factor to this plugin is that it's helped to model proximity effect. Proximity effect is a side effect of directional microphones. So any mic that has a polar pattern that rejects sound from certain directions will mean that when you move that microphone closer to a source, it's going to exhibit more low mid energy. So we're talking kind of 100 to 300 hertz is going to be boosted significantly. The closer to the source, the more that's going to be exaggerated, and the further away we get, the more natural it's going to appear. The more directional the microphone, the more that the proximity effect is going to be noticed and exaggerated. So what I'm going to do now is use this proximity control on the output side of the model to show you what happens when I move it closer and further away from the original instrument. Okay, so what I hoped you could hear from that is that as it stood, even as it was recorded, there was a fair amount of proximity effect on the Shure Beta 57 when it was recorded, and adding any more, particularly on a rather dark and coloured microphone anyway, it was starting to get a little bit ugly and a little bit boomy. And once we start getting to about, 4 or 5 inches away, we were actually ending up with quite a bit of distortion too. So in this case, I preferred it with it off. The last thing that I wanted to show you before we move on to another audio example is the effect of moving the proximity on the input rather than the output. Did you notice it seemed to have the opposite effect to the output side? So it seemed to get a little bit brighter and airier and more natural the more that I pulled it over to this right hand side of the knob here. Again, if you feel that your sound is, once you've modeled it, getting a little bit heavy in those low mids, we can help scoop that out a little bit with this input proximity side. Okay, so one more time.